Well, welcome back into the Nick Burt Sports Network. It is time for the official predictions of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. 107 matches or something like that. There are over 100 matches to get to. We're going to give you score lines for each game. It is going to be quite the mess because this is what FIFA has given us, a 48-team tournament. It's going to be quite the mess. We're going to try to figure out the third place tiebreakers. I don't know if there's true rules to them because it is just so convoluted. We'll go through that. And we are just going to look at every single game that's going to happen here. And then we're going to get to the round of 32. And for those that know March Madness, it is full bracket from there on. And we're going to do full bracket predictions. So make sure you fasten those seatbelts because we are in for the long run here. So let's get after it. All right, here we go. Obviously, you can see here we have the groups. We have all of them. I have taken the time out so you don't have to watch me pick each of these games and each of these scores, but I figured I will kind of at least break them down group by group, game by game. Mexico, South Africa to open up the tournament. I have Mexico winning that 2-0. Beginning game at the Azteca. Think that plays a big factor in here. The Korea Republic and Czechia have ending in a 0-0 draw on Thursday. To be honest, that's just a vibes feel. It's a late kickoff. Kind of just feels like after such a great day at the Azteca, we're due to have just a bad game, basically. That game ends 0-0. Czechia, South Africa. I have South Africa getting on the board here with 2 goals in the game, but I still have Czechia doing the exact same. So that game ends in a 2-2 draw. Mexico and the Korea Republic, I think this is going to be the most interesting game of the group as I kind of think these two teams are evenly matched. This game could decide who wins the group. I just have it ending in a draw there. You take a look at those final 2 games that will be played simultaneously on Wednesday, June 24th. I have Mexico beating Czechia 4-0, and I have South Korea beating South Africa 1-0. That leads to Mexico topping the group on 7 points, South Korea advancing with 5, Czechia having 2, and South Africa being eliminated with 1. We'll take a look at Group B. Canada opens up with a 2-1 win against Bosnia and Herzegovina. Switzerland defeat Qatar 4-0. Both of those games, I don't really know if there's much to get into there. Switzerland and Bosnia play to just a grueling 1-1 draw in SoFi Stadium or Los Angeles Stadium. Just that has the feeling of that. Canada defeats Qatar 4-0. So I do have 2 4-0 games in a row for Qatar. Not the greatest. But then I do have Switzerland and Canada tying to close the group stage. And then Bosnia getting a win over Qatar. That leaves Canada with 7 points, Switzerland with 5, Bosnia and Herzegovina with 4, and Qatar gets eliminated with 0. We'll take a look here at Group C. Have Scotland defeating Haiti 3-1 to kick off this group. Then I have Brazil following that up with a 3-1 victory against Morocco. Brazil then faces off against Haiti in a game that I don't know, feel like it will be closer than people think. I give Brazil that one 3-2, and then I have Scotland drawing with Morocco 1-1. Brazil then defeats Scotland 3-0 at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, and Morocco walks away with a 1-0 victory against Haiti, leaving Brazil to top the group on 9 points with 3 wins. Scotland to advance on one of the tiebreakers, which would be goals scored here. On 4 points, Morocco would be in third with 4 points, and Haiti eliminated with 0. We'll move on to Group D. If there's any of the 3 hosts that I think don't win their opener, I do think it is the U.S. It just kind of has that type of feeling to it. I give it to a 1-1 draw. I do think both get on the board. It's just I don't know if one of them finds a winner. I also have Australia and Turkey ending in a 2-2 draw. We continue on here. Turkey gets a 1-0 victory over Paraguay. I think that is the injuries are starting to add up to Paraguay. That kind of has me worried for their run here. And then I have the U.S. beating Australia 2-0. Turkey and the U.S. draw 1-1 to close out the group, and Australia gets a 2-0 win against Paraguay. Leaving the groups to end up like this, the U.S. ends up with 5. Turkey ends up with 5. The U.S. advances or gets top spot on goal differential. Australia finishes on 4 points, and Paraguay is eliminated with 1. Let's continue on here. Group E, Ecuador and Côte d'Ivoire open up this group. I do have Ecuador getting a 2-0 win there. And then Germany and Curacao face off, and I have Germany taking a 4-0 victory there. We move on here. I do have Germany getting a 4-2 victory against the Ivory Coast. And then Ecuador continues their journey on here with a 5-2 victory against Curacao, leading to a all-important matchup at MetLife Stadium between Germany and Ecuador. To decide this group, I have Germany winning that 1-0, and Côte d'Ivoire getting a 3-0 victory against Curacao, seeing Germany top the group on 9 points, Ecuador on 6, both advancing on Ivory Coast on 3, Curacao eliminated with 0. Group F, I have a shocker to start, and that is Japan pulling off a 2-1 victory against the Netherlands. Then have Sweden picking up a 2-0 victory against Tunisia. Continuing on here, I have the Netherlands picking up a 2-1 win against Sweden, and Japan picking up a 3-1 win against Tunisia. Japan-Sweden ends 0-0. Netherlands-Tunisia ends up a 2-1 victory for the Netherlands, seeing Japan top the group on 7 points. The Netherlands ending up with 6. Sweden ending up with 4, and Tunisia going home with 0. Group G, Belgium and Egypt will advance here. I think that is kind of how this played out here. I have Iran getting a 2-1 victory against New Zealand. Belgium taking a 4-1 victory against Egypt in those opening games. Then Belgium gets another win against Iran. Egypt gets a win against New Zealand. Egypt-Iran battle it out for that second place spot. Egypt gets the victory here 2-1, in New Zealand bows out of the tournament with 0 points after a 3-1 loss to Belgium to close out that group, leading Belgium on 9 points, Egypt on 6, Iran on 3, New Zealand on 0. We move on to Group H. Again, this is where things could get a little interesting here. I have Uruguay getting a 2-0 win against Saudi Arabia. I have Spain kind of putting a beat down on Cabo Verde here, a 6-0 victory. We move on. Uruguay takes a 1-0 victory against Cabo Verde. I do think the elements play a bit into that, but then Spain just kind of keep rolling here. I went with another 6-0 victory. I think them playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in a domed environment against lesser competition is going to lead to more goals for them, as they truly won't be tested by the elements there. I then have Saudi Arabia picking up a 2-1 victory against Cabo Verde. And to close out the group, I have Uruguay and Spain playing to a 2-2 draw. What could feel like be a very exciting game in Guadalajara, but it sees Spain top the group on 7 points with a plus 12 goal differential, and that is obviously a lot of Spain getting 6 goals in 2 games each. So Uruguay on 7 points, Saudi Arabia on 3, and Cabo Verde on 0. We'll move on here to the group of death. France, I have picking up a victory 2-1 against Senegal. Norway picking up a 3-2 victory against Iraq. Norway then picks up a 1-0 win against Senegal. France a 3-0 victory over Iraq. All to play for in the final group stage games, both for first place and third place. France pick up a 2-0 victory against Norway. Senegal a 2-0 victory against Iraq. leaving it to be France on 9 points, Norway on 6, Senegal on 3, and Iraq on 0. We'll move on to Group J. I have Argentina beating Algeria 2-1 to open this group, and then Austria picking up a 2-1 victory against Jordan. Then Argentina picks up another 2-1 victory, this time against Austria. Jordan and Algeria tie 1-1. And then to close out the group, I have Austria beating Algeria 2-1, and then Argentina defeating Jordan 5-2, leading Argentina to top the group on 9 points, Austria on 6 points. Both of those teams advance. Algeria and Jordan sit on 1 point, but Algeria would be the third place team based on goal differential there. We move on to Group K, another kind of surprise here. Portugal, 2-1 victory against the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Colombia gets a 2-1 victory against Uzbekistan. I have Portugal and Uzbekistan drawing 2-2. If there's a team Uzbekistan picks off out of these two, I think it would be Portugal here and, scrapes a point by. And then I have Colombia with a 1-0 win against the Congo. I then, at the Hard Rock Stadium on June 27th, I have Colombia and Portugal playing to a 2-2 draw. And then the Congo picking up a 2-1 victory against Uzbekistan, leading Colombia to top this group on 7 points. Portugal still advance on with 5. The Congo end up with 3, and Uzbekistan goes home with 1. Close it out here, Group L. I have England finishing top of this group on 9 points after a 1-0 win against Croatia, a 5-0 win against Ghana, and then a 2-0 win against Panama to close it out. We'll take a look at the rest of the group here, though. Ghana and Panama play to a 1-1 draw. Then Croatia picks up a 3-0 victory against Panama, which puts them in pole position to finish in second place. And they clinch that with a 4-1 victory against Ghana, leading Ghana to be the team sent home from this group in fourth place. Now we'll take a look at those third place finishers that would be advancing on. Top 8 advance. So it would be Sweden here on 4 points, Australia on 4 points, Bosnia and Herzegovina on 4 points, and Morocco on 4 points, Senegal on 3 points, Cote d'Ivoire on 3 points, Iran on 3 points, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo on 3 points. We will now travel back up here. It is time to move on to the knockout stage. And we will do full picks here. I just felt like I shouldn't be going through, 72 matches there and just leaving it at that. So we're going to start here. A Germany-Sweden game. I'm going to take Germany there. A 1-0 victory. I'm good with that. Just kind of feels like a toss-up there goal-wise, at least. I still think Germany would advance on. Next up, France and Australia. This is easy. Give me France. I'm going to change that, though, I believe. Never mind. There we go. I'm going to give it 3-0. Australia is just going to be outmanned, outmatched. As simple as that. South Korea and Switzerland. This has the feeling of a 1-1 draw. And I'll take Switzerland to advance. I'll do 4-3 on penalties. Japan and Scotland. Scotland would be advancing on for the first time ever in any tournament here. I will take Japan by the score of 2-1. I just think the Japanese are a better team. Simple as that. We'll continue on down here to this second quadrant of the bracket. Portugal and Croatia in what could be a very, very interesting match. This has the feeling of a 2-2 draw with both teams, continue scoring here. And then I do have it ending with Croatia picking up the victory. If it goes to a penalty shootout, I think they have the better goaltending there. I know a lot of people want Portugal to go on a run here, Ronaldo's final tournament. I just don't know if I see it. I like this Croatian team better. We'll move on. Spain, Austria. Give me Spain 3-1. They'll advance on here, I think, quite easily. USA, Bosnia and Herzegovina. This does feel like a ugly 1-1 draw for a while, but the U.S. pulls it out 2-1. If it gave me the option to put extra time, I would, but I think the U.S. do advance on to the round of 16 here. Belgium, Senegal could be quite the interesting game. Of course, Senegal, champions of Africa. Belgium, kind of on the last legs of the golden generation here. I'll go Senegal 2-1 here, and that brings the end to the Belgian golden generation. We'll move on to the other side of the bracket here. Brazil and the Netherlands, what could be a absolutely phenomenal match right there. I'm going to take Brazil here, 2-1. I know a lot of people think the Netherlands are going to go on a run here. I personally don't see it, mostly because of manager Ronald Koeman. And I think Brazil kind of are just the better team here. I'm going to take them to advance on. Ecuador and Norway. I'll take Norway with a 2-1 victory here. I think Ecuador kind of overachieve a little bit by getting to the round of 32. I know that kind of seems counterintuitive to say, but I do have Norway advancing on here. Erling Haaland, I'll go with a brace in this game, as I do think he's going to carry a lot of this team in this tournament. Mexico and Morocco at the Estadio Azteca. That would be a wildly intriguing game. Obviously, a lot of people love Morocco in this tournament, and I kind of do too. But with it being at the Azteca, I think this game ends 1-1. I do think we go to penalties. I'll kind of give it here. I think both of them miss at one point. I'm going to take Morocco, just barely. I do think the pressure is going to get to Mexico a little bit. Obviously, playing at the Azteca at home in a penalty shootout, I think it gets a bit too much for them, and I think they do falter there. England and the DR Congo. I'm just going to take... I'll take England 3-1 here. England are going to be the better team there. Kind of got a little hesitant going up there in the numbers, just knowing how Tommy Tuchel plays. But 3-1 seems about right. Argentina and Uruguay. That is a very interesting Common Bowl matchup. I'll still take Argentina to advance here 2-1, especially playing at the Hard Rock. That will be quite the atmosphere. Turkey and Egypt. I will take Turkey 2-1 here. Canada and Iran in a game that would be played at BC Place. That is quite the interesting matchup. I'll take Canada 3-1. I'm expecting a lot out of this Canada team. Am I kind of gaslighting myself into that? Probably a little bit, but I do like this Canada team to at least advance on if they have that situation. Colombia and Cote d'Ivoire, I'll take Colombia 3-0 here. Setting up our last 16, we'll go back to the top here. Germany, France, oh boy, that would be quite the game on July the 4th at Lincoln Financial Field. I think Germany score first here. I do think France end up winning this game 3-2. That feels like it could be a higher scoring game, potentially extra time. I don't think they get to penalties though. If they do, I still favor France in that situation. Switzerland and Japan. I think the Switzerland run ends here with a simple 1-0 victory for Japan. We'll move on to the bottom half here. Spain and Croatia. I'm going to take Spain 2-0 here. Spain is just too much for this Croatian team to handle. We move on, July the 6th, the USA and Senegal. The U.S., their first opportunity to move on to the quarterfinals since 2002. For Senegal, I believe it would be the first time ever. I'm going to take the United States 2-1 here to advance on to that quarterfinal, set up a match with Spain. We'll continue back to the top here. Brazil, Norway. I think Brazil pull this one off here 3-1. Morocco, England at the Estadio Azteca. This is definitely a tough one. I'm going to have this end 1-1. And in true English fashion, England wins on penalties, just in an absolute disaster of a game, setting them to the quarterfinals. Argentina, Turkey. Give me Argentina 2-0. Canada, Colombia. As much as I want to take Canada here, given they would have home field advantage, Colombia is the better team here, and I think it kind of ends in a disappointing fashion for the Canadians here, 3-0. Leaving us with our final 8 teams. France, Japan. I'm going to take France here, 2-0. It just becomes too much for Japan at that point. USA, Spain at SoFi Stadium in LA. That would be a stadium the U.S. had already played 2 matches at by that point. I'm going to take Spain here, and I think it gets a little bit ugly near the end. I give Spain a 4-1 victory. Brazil, England. What a potential matchup at the Hard Rock Stadium. The fact it would be at Hard Rock, it is leading me to believe that this game ends up being much closer than it should be, but England still advance on. I think by that point they should be adapted to the weather conditions. I mean, they would have played a game at the Azteca the round before. Now, travel there could be, a little bit of a factor there. Obviously, Brazil would be coming from MetLife in New York, New Jersey, but I still have England advancing on there. Argentina, Colombia. I'm taking Colombia 2-1 here. I think this is where Argentina's run ends. That's where Messi's run ends. And we end up here, our final 4. France, Spain ends 1-1. And Spain advance on to the final. I believe Spain has one of the best teams here at this tournament. France are probably the second best team if they aren't the first with Spain. That should be a final, but it won't be, obviously. What a game that would be. England, Colombia. They would be playing in Atlanta. This is just how I think it's going to... I think England make a run to the final here. We get a rematch of the 2024 Euro. And in the third place game, you have France and Colombia. We'll take care of that one first. I do think by that point, France is kind of just checked out. I'll take Colombia 3-1 here. Colombia finish in third place, which I believe would be their highest ever finish at the World Cup. And it sets up a Spain-England final in New York. That would just be... What a final that would be. Of course, we saw what happened back in Germany. It ended 2-1. And I do think both teams score in this game. I do think it ends 2-1. But the team that adds the second star to their shirt, I do believe will be Spain. It does pain me to do that a bit. Because I obviously want England to go all the way here. 60 years of hurt has never stopped me dreaming. But I do think Spain are going to win this tournament. They are favorites for a reason. I think they have the best team at this tournament. And I think England are up there. But Spain are your champions in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. So there it is. the official predictions for myself, Nick Burt, at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Agree with them, disagree with them. Feel free to sound off in the comments. I'd love to hear your predictions for who's going to win the World Cup. And that's going to wrap it up here. Our final pre-World Cup show. Wild to think we are just, days away now. And even by days, it's like less than days. We're like in a day from World Cup now, it feels like. So make sure you click subscribe. Make sure you click like on this video. Make sure you turn on notifications, because starting Thursday, every day of the tournament, we will be putting out preview videos. I believe on YouTube at least, I will do just a day video for a preview of all the matches during that day. We'll be back at night for a recap. If you want specific game previews that are more short form, that will be on my Twitter at NickBurt13. That is where those will be. But a lot of that will be taken information from what I put on those longer form shows here for the previews. So with that being said, that wraps up the final preview episode. The World Cup is here. I am thrilled that we are here. So thank you so much for watching this episode of World Cup Preview on the Nick Burt Sports Network. We, of course, now transition to Quick Kick Around the Pitch fully. So thank you so much for watching. Like I said, make sure you click subscribe and turn those notifications on so you know when those World Cup game preview episodes drop. So thank you so much for watching. We will see you again soon here on the Nick Burt Sports Network.